Well, I've been blessed to be able to hunt so many different places and do it in so many different styles with so many different cool products. Even when I was a kid, I didn't consider myself only a rifle hunter or a bow hunter or whatever, muzzleload hunter, whatever it may be. I always liked to experience different things. Well, in hunting, there's so many different seasons and so many different opportunities that you can expand into based on not just being a specialist in one. Hey man, I'm not knocking the guys that only bow hunt, only hunt with a longbow, only hunt with a spear gun like some of these guys do or whatever. Man, that's their passion, and I love anybody that has a passion as well. I just like to expand my opportunities all the time, and I've always been that way. So when it came time, and I've talked about this many times, to pick up handgun hunting, I was like, yeah, okay, but I'm a little nervous. First off, you look at all these big giant handgun cannons, so to speak, and you watch a YouTube video and the gun's going backwards over somebody's head. Can I handle this gun? Can I shoot it accurately to be respectful to the animal? As I evolved into it and I began to learn more about it, I learned that handgun hunting to me was probably one of the most difficult to be consistent with. And by that, I mean be able to always shoot a good group. I learned I needed a good brace to be most confident. I needed to learn to respect the distance that I can shoot a handgun with accurately. The handgun can do a lot more than I can do with it in a lot of situations. I'm not saying I hadn't shot on the range and I hadn't shot pigs at a long distance, because I have. When it comes to whitetail hunting, I like to get, or any kind of hunting, I like them when I'm with my handgun. I want to get them in my lap. And man, I mean, me and some of my friends, we spent a lot of time hunting different animals with them. We've shot axis, we've shot whitetail. I mean, I shot an impala in Africa, one of the coolest experiences ever, with a 460. I was in a big ground blind with Kevin was filming it, had my father-in-law there, a couple of guides, and it's just a really cool hike. We were actually trying to shoot an Inyala, and this impala came out and he was gorgeous and it was perfect. We'd been sitting a long time with nothing. And I was like, I love that. And I shot, and I mean, boom, and dust flies everywhere inside the deal. And everybody's like, did you get him? And I was like, man, it sure felt good. And we come to find out I'd made a perfect shot. The impala ran off, great blood trail, beautiful pictures. And I mean, I never would have believed as a little kid if you'd have told me I could go to Africa and shoot someone with a handgun. No freaking way. Those types of adventures and I don't know, the growth that you get to do as a hunter with different things is something that still is fun and amazing to me. And I tell everybody, I'm like, man, handgun hunting is one of those things, it becomes addictive. Just like all types of hunting, but handgun hunting become an addiction to me.
Welcome back to the Yamaha Whitetail Diaries with Wade Middleton.
I look around now and I've taken a lot of animals with handguns. I've also missed quite a few things with a handgun. And all of them have been an adventure and been a journey. And the several things that I take away in this journey is the practice. I have to practice with my compound bow and a handgun a lot to maintain proficiency for me. I think as you get older, that's just part of life too. And there are people that are just gifted. Look at Jerry Mikulik. The guy has, I don't even know how old that guy is, but he can still shoot the, eyes out of something at 100 yards with a handgun with a barrel like that, and speed records and wins competitions. I mean, it's amazing to me. He's a gifted, talented guy, but I promise you that guy practices all the time. So when it comes to a hunting situation, I try to practice and prepare for what I expect to encounter in the field. Am I going to be sitting on the ground? Am I shooting out of a box blind? Am I in a tree stand? What are the variables going to be in handgun hunting? And I try to practice those. But one thing about all of those is being as consistent as I can and being as repetitive as I can in how I hold it, how I get the gun on target. Doesn't matter whether I'm shooting 9mm or shooting the big hand cannons. I try to be as consistent as I can. Yeah, there's little variables in each one of them, but I try to be as consistent in my practice as I possibly can. I also pay attention to my aiming devices, and there's a lot of them out there, and each one of them provides some positives and negatives in a lot of different situations. And I've learned the hard way on a lot of this, on certain things that I need to do to be better. you look at a scope, a magnifying, scope to be able to magnify the shot. And there's not a lot of them out there that can handle those big hand cannons. They'll crush them. Those big guns, a big caliber, man, you've got to pick the right ones in those situations, and I've used them everything from 308s once to the 460s, even up to the 500 a little bit. And, I've seen the ones that can handle it and can't. Do your research on that. Obviously, all the guns come with open sights. You can shoot those right out of the box and be successful. But I've learned limitations in those situations. In low light situations, a lot of the handguns that you're going to pick up, you get it back in a box blind, you get back in a pop-up or in some kind of hide, the sights are hard, really can be hard to see. I missed a deer. We were on a hunt in Texas. We were in a creek bottom. It was dead calm. I had two camera guys with me, Gentry and Jeff, and these deer were moving up and down out of this creek bed up onto a flat and off that flat down into the creek bottom. It was a perfect setup. The deer were milling around it at different times. There was one really old buck that kept coming through that area. It was dead calm. I'm trying to get a shot. In low light situations and some of that, I couldn't even see the animal properly to get my sight on. When I finally did get a shot, I think after 3 days of encountering different deer, I was so amped up and so tight. I think that bullet hit about 30 yards over that deer. We never even saw anything on the camera, and the deer looked at me, ran off, and he's a memory. But it was a learning lesson about sights in a low light situation in that scenario and dealing with calm conditions and listening to that gun cock, and resulted in operator error on my fault and a missed opportunity. The aiming solution, so to speak, I love the high-vis sights that you can put on aftermarket on a lot of cases for your handguns. They've actually come out with some new sights that even really line up to tell you that you're on your target really, in a perfect situation. They've got the tritium in the low-light situations, very important usage once you're in a box blind or a pop-up in low light. You look at the Trigicon, red dots, and the different sets of sights you can find there. You can look at a scope that you can put on your handgun. All of those play a role in your aiming solutions to find the best way to get on the target. You've got to practice with them, talk to your buddies, do the YouTube research, do the Google research, do all those things. Nothing is going to supersede or overtake time in the field with them. I find a use for each one of them is interchangeable based on where I'm going and how comfortable I'm going to be and what I'm trying to accomplish, what the experience that I want as a hunter. That's also important to understand as a hunter. Your experience and your desires may be totally different than what I'm looking for. I may be trying to take a doe with open sights with a 10mm, where you're trying to have the hunt of a lifetime and you want a precision aiming point to be able to shoot 100 yards. Your choice of gun is different. Your choice of aiming is going to be different. Your practice, where you're going, all of those. So just do your research, because once you start enjoying it and dialing it all in, it's a whole other world of hunting.
After the break, we'll look at some of Wade's most memorable handgun hunts.
Watching these two big bucks come across that hill, it's something I'll never forget.
Welcome back to the Yamaha Whitetail Diaries with Wade Middleton.
Some of my favorite handgun hunts, I remember a hunt years ago with a 44 mag, and it was Jeff Reynolds and I, and we were hunting on the ground, and I had taken a tripod and built up a shooting brace with a sandbag on top of it, and then the deer were rutting. They were really running this bottom along this creek bed pretty good. We'd thrown some corn out, tried to get them to slow down, stop in a few places, and a couple of these bucks had come and gone, and man, I could feel the tension. The one thing I want to do is always make a good shot for the deer, but the second thing is everybody's invested a lot of time in this. I want to make sure that we get it all right. That was a perfect example of a pulled shot. Shot him back a little bit. Kind of knew it right away. Operator error on my end. That's a learning episode. When you hit a deer there, he's gonna die. You've got to just give him time in that situation. And this was a buck, didn't bleed a lot, kind of ran a long way. We ended up tracking him across the creek and finding him several hours later. But what a great hunt. What a memorable hunt. What a beautiful deer that we took. And that's been a long time ago. It's probably 10, 12 years ago since we took that buck down in that situation. But, the memories of that deer darting in and out of the brush, chasing does, finally kind of looking at me when I squeezed off the shot, you know, a little over 30 yards was something I'll never forget. I have that deer mounted in my shop, and I still look at it and I can still see that hunt every day. You know, another one of my favorite hunts was hunting in a big field that had a bunch of doveweed. These deer were kind of roaming this big ridge and coming across it, and I had the big 460 on this hunt. And, you know, these deer were patterned in there pretty good. And like always, we were throwing a little bit of corn out to kind of get them in position at the end of the day. But, you know, sitting in that blind, watching these two big bucks come across that hill, I mean, it's something I'll never forget. Got him, got him, got him. Smoked that guy. Whew. That's what I'm talking about right there. Did you see him come running across that field there? He came in, there was 2 or 3 other deer milling around. I mean, I guess they like his little shadier there. I'm definitely a little shook up. You can see the gun shaking a little bit right there. That's a giant shovel's tines. I mean, one side's got an extra tine coming out here. He curves in. He's got brow tines going that way. That's what I'm talking about from the Performance Center right there. Smoked that deer. That's, I think, my second biggest deer I've ever shot with a handgun. You know, when it all comes together and all that practice is there, and you make a shot and you know you made a good shot, and you're tracking that blood and you find him within 100 yards, that's just one of the coolest things. And that 460 is such a dynamic caliber that Smith & Wesson has built this handgun platform around. It's just one of many in the Smith & Wesson family of lineups of revolvers and that you can use to go hunt with. You know, another set of hunts is one I've got to share with my great friend Jeff Reynolds. We had all modified this box blind. We cut the end of it out where it opened up, and we put brush all around it. And it was on one of the pipelines that run through one of our deer leases. And these pipelines become great edge habitat all the time for us. You know, we'll have some protein feeders around them. We'll have some corn feeders in the area, and they love to run these pipelines and cross them back and forth. And randomly, you know, just good bucks will show up. A lot of them that we don't have a lot of history on, and so in Jeff's case, he had to fire a warning shot before he got his. Stay on him. My first deer with a handgun, Smith & Wesson Performance Center 460. You can see. That is an awesome experience. Like I said a while ago, if you get a chance, you've got to do this. This is a blast. Right there he is. He didn't go 30 yards. Oh. Smith & Wesson Performance Center 460. Magnum. Can't forget the Magnum on there. What a thrill. My first handgun deer, and I am super excited. You know, I was up in that same stand in a different season, sitting there, and a lot of deer were coming through. I had Rusty with me as the camera guy, and I'm shooting the 460, and, you know, these deer are kind of coming through, and this is a good buck. We picked him up on the scouting camera, and he keeps showing up in different times. I finally got a shot on him, but I made a bad shot and had to follow it up. Had to follow it up again in the tracking, and that's a neat aspect when it comes to revolver hunting, is how, you know, if you've practiced enough, you become proficient enough, you understand how to get right back on them for a fast follow-up, and they're easy to acquire with most of the sights that we're using. But I'm going to talk about another hunt real quick with my good friend Tony Meany. Tony worked at Smith & Wesson for a long time. I learned a lot of great things from Tony about handguns and calibers and choosing them. We talked ammo for a lot. He and I hunted together a lot. And this guy, I mean, he's an expert in the hunting area when it comes to handguns and being proficient with it. Well, Tony liked to rattle. We rattle a lot of different times. We cover a lot of ground together. He would plan trips down here to hunt with us on the lease in that type of situation. hunting. There's one time, and this is one of the most impressive, we've been rattling all day. My arms are tired, I'm kind of whining, want to go back and eat a hamburger or something. And we're kind of down, there's not many places left to rattle, and I hit them, and man, I mean, in rattling, it can happen so fast. Shoot him. He's going down. He's down right there. He's down right there. He's down right there. How fast was that second shot? Perfect. He knew what he could do. Now, I don't recommend that shot for most people. I mean, he shot that deer straight on, put another one in him. The deer didn't go 30 yards piled up in a brush. That's what an expert can do with it in his hand. I wouldn't even probably taken that. I'd take that shot with a rifle. I wouldn't have taken it with a handgun because I don't feel like I'm as qualified as a guy like him. He knows what he can do, and it goes to show you in the right set of hands how great these handguns can be.
You don't want to miss this next part. Stay tuned.
This is money in the bank. Jerk that trigger.
This segment is brought to you by the free Outdoor Action TV app. Download and stream hunting, fishing, and lifestyle content to any of your favorite devices.
Another challenge to me when it comes with the handgun hunting, and we go back to missing and the hunts and the moments, we're going to talk about missing because I missed quite a few times. I was bound and determined one year I was going to shoot one with a 10mm revolver, and I was going to shoot it on this one road. I mean, we got does running around all over the place. Why I got so infatuated with hunting this one spot, I don't know. But I hunted there with several different camera guys trying to get a shot. Man, these deer had me pegged. It didn't matter whether I did tripods, I did box blinds, I did pop-ups, I built brush blinds. They just had me on this spot. And then when I finally got a shot, and I took that shot, and man, I mean, shoo, shoo, not even close. I don't even know where the bullet went. And I think that boils down to, you know, once again, I got to practice more. But with a handgun, you make one little bad move with it. You pull that trigger a little bit, man, it's moving down. It's going different directions. But what I learned through all that is, you know, that practice procedure, getting used to, getting into that position, finding that aiming point, and taking about a second or two longer really pays off for me with handgun hunting. I get that sight settled in sometimes, and I'll think, man, I'm there, and I pull that trigger. And when you do that, man, you're invariably going to pull it left, you're going to pull it right, you're going to shoot it up into the clouds, you're going to miss. I mean, misses happen, miss bad. That's one thing I like to say a lot. When you miss bad. Because when you miss bad, the deer doesn't pay any price, or whatever it is that you're hunting. You know, another miss that I had, we were hunting a box blind, and we were set up in there, wind was right. There's a lot of different deer coming through here, and this is a part of Southwest Texas where, you know, most of these deer that are 3, 4.5 years old, they're going to be, you know, 110, 120 inch, really pretty deer. A lot of times they have real chocolate antlers, you know, they get little kickers and things along that lines. We had kind of set up in a situation where, man, this could really play out really, really good in there, and it did. I mean, it played out good. A buck comes in, some does come in, things are moving around. I'm like, man, that's a good one for this part of Texas where we're hunting at, and I get the gun sitting there, man, I just feel like this is money in the bank. I jerk that trigger. You see this deer jump up in the air, you see dirt fly everywhere. I'm thinking I crushed him, because a lot of times when you're handgun hunting with some of these calibers, you don't get a great blood trail. The one thing I get frustrated with a little bit is I don't necessarily think we always have the best bullet choices for some of these calibers to perform the right way. But when you miss bad, doesn't matter. You're not going to be blood anyway. But in this case, I thought I hit it. On the camera, we thought I hit it. But come to find out when we slowed it down, and I mean, we did everything. We tracked it with dogs. We tracked it on foot. We spent the extra day in there. We watched the video 697 times to prove to ourselves that, yes, Wade, you sucked, you missed, it was a bad shot, and that's life. But this was one where I probably got a little overconfident. The shot wasn't 19 yards. It might have been 14 yards. It was so close. And when I pulled that trigger, I pull it, and I mean, I pull, and you see the dirt fly, and the deer runs off, and he lives, and he's back on the stealth cam not long after that. And we will hunt that deer again, because it becomes personal at that point. But I sucked on that shot. Totally made a bad trigger pull. Totally rushed it. So when I look at, I've got a lot of successes, but I've got a lot of failures in handgun hunting. I've learned a lot over those times. And what I have learned is it is one of my favorite ways to hunt. It's one of my most enjoyable ways to hunt. And as I've gotten older, I gotta practice more. I need to probably give myself 1 or 2 seconds longer once I settle that sight in, whatever way I'm shooting, whether I'm shooting a high-vis, a Trijicon, or a scope, whatever it may be. You know, and then lastly, to understand my limitations. And so as you grow as a handgun hunter or pick it up, spend a lot of time practicing and be prepared for an addiction.